Welcome to Pretty Poor Decisions, which is a podcast where we celebrate life's pivots and plot twists while we pour one out for the original plan. If we're just meeting, my name is Katrina Torrijos, and I am a content creator and Twitch streamer, and now your lovely host of the show. I finally did it, finally started this podcast, and if I'm going to be so honest with you all right now, I have no idea what I'm doing. And kind of ironic. It seems very on brand for this podcast. And yeah, I thought it would be a perfect way to spend this first episode to introduce y'all to the podcast, talk about the process, what I've learned along the way, and my very first poor decisions when it came to this project. And yeah, just hang out and vibe. So I've actually been wanting to do a podcast for the past 4 or 5 years now. I just never actually pulled the trigger on it because I was honestly just scared of the workload that I would take on because of it. I am mainly on YouTube, so a lot of it is highly edited and scripted and outlined. And then also, ironically, I also stream on Twitch, which is not scripted whatsoever. I just pick a game and play the game, and the rest is content. Or sometimes not content. Sometimes it could be the most boring day ever. But yeah, it's just that's all I've been used to. So with this podcast, it's kind of like unfamiliar territory. It's because to some degree this is edited and also not edited and unscripted. And I'm in this weird spot right now trying to learn new platforms, a new way of producing this type of content, and I'm learning along the way with you all. So if you have any tips or advice to make this a lot less awkward, I will highly appreciate them. But yeah, so I finally decided to start a podcast around March of this year. At the time that I'm filming this, it should be September. It should be September if everything went well and the launch plan went to plan. um, but it should be, around fall time when you're listening to this. But I actually started this project back in March because I needed something to change. I felt really stagnant at work and also in my content. I wasn't really happy producing YouTube videos anymore, and streaming was at a lull because I've been traveling so much that I haven't been really home to stream, and there hasn't been any new games to play, and I just all around was just feeling uninspired. The idea came to me while I was at work. Every year we do some sort of type of reflection in terms of like career growth and stuff, and I put a few things on my self-reflection. One was I wanted to be more consistent on YouTube and try and hit that 100K subscribers. I will tell you right now, it's not going well. It's not going well. That plan went straight out the window, which I could talk more about later. But one of those things I added to my self reflection is to start a podcast focus on telling community stories. And so I didn't know what that was going to look like. I always knew that I just wanted to tell more stories on my platform. And, I thought a podcast would be a great way to do it. And I could see myself not only talking solo, like just like this with you all, just casually, but also bringing in guests and hear from folks who aren't normally out in the spotlight. Like at first I really wanted this to be a creative podcast, right? Because I am in the creativity industry. um and I still will interview designers and artists and stuff, but I really wanted to tell stories of folks who weren't necessarily in that industry, who are also trying to figure out their way in their careers, or I feel like everyone's made poor decisions in life, and everyone has a story to tell and advice to share to the next generation, so I wanted to open it up and be a generalist. That is so me, man. Like if there's one thing I've learned from my content creation career is that I cannot niche down for the life of me. Ever since I started my YouTube channel back in, I think, what was it, like 2014, the first advice that's been around is to niche down. I can never do it. I'm too multifaceted. I have too many hobbies, too many things I want to talk about. I could not be boxed in. And I think that really didn't do well for me trying to grow my channels or anything like that. But you know what? That's okay because humans are multifaceted. We're all meant to want to do different things. We shouldn't pigeonhole ourselves into just being one thing. That's just not how we are as people, you know? So I opened it up to not just be a podcast about creativity. I just wanted to cover all different walks of life. So yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration for this podcast, or not even the inspiration. This was kind of what sparked the idea for the podcast, was to focus on this community stories all through some self-reflection that I did at work. Now, for the inspiration, I did take like a month or two to kind of really think through my strategy for this podcast and, really hone in on like who this podcast is for. I would say that the main inspiration for this podcast came from speaking at events. If you don't know who I am, I speak at events. I do demos and workshops, and I talk to a lot of different groups and people, right? And I tend to do a lot of events for college students and career switchers, the next generation of folks, young professionals. And one thing that I've heard pretty much at almost every single event I've spoken at is like the someone without fail in the audience wanted to know. Actually, it came down to two things. Someone in the audience always wanted to know how to get started in content creation and creativity in starting a new project in their career, starting their careers, you know? And then another person would also ask me, how did I become an evangelist and how could they become one too? And so just from hearing those questions over and over again, it just made me think like at the end of the day, whether if you're a college student, a high school student, you're pivoting your careers, you're in between jobs, you're stable in your job right now, but want to pursue something else or want to do a new project, it all kind of boils down to the fact that no one really knows what they're doing and they just want to learn how to get started and how, like, what steps to take to get them in the right direction. We're all just looking for some sort of guidance, some sort of mentorship. And also, I feel like a lot of us just want to feel part of a community. We all just want to be part of something, you know? And so that's kind of like the inspiration of this podcast. But also, I didn't want this to just be any sort of career life advice podcast, right? There's billions of them. What I really wanted to focus on was the failures in life, like what projects fell through, what things failed in our life, what new hobbies we took up and then gave up the next day. I wanted to really talk about like moments where life had other plans and how humans were resilient and brave to roll with the punches and work around what life has dealt us and how we overcame it and what we learned along the way. And of course, knowing me, this sounds quite serious, right? This sounds like, oh, I'm here to tell some deep stories. Fun fact, I'm not really like that. I mean, I can be like that when the time comes, but I really wanted this to be sort of like a FaceTime kind of catch up with a friend, like nighttime, just chilling, talking, bantering, things like that. And yeah, and not serious at all. Okay, wait. Let me back up. So yeah, I'm hoping that this podcast can have moments of serious, real talk conversations, but also have some fun, poke fun at our past selves that, you know, made some really dumb decisions and stuff. And just honestly just have fun and vibe. Yeah, so that's kind of like my intentions and inspirations with this podcast. And now the process. Okay, y'all, podcasting is not what I thought it would be. My original plan was just to record a video with my current stream setup on OBS, upload it to some editor thing, like edit it myself, and then create clips out of it and upload it. I mean, to be fair, I think that could be a way to do it. That's definitely like the plan A. That was the plan. I was just gonna be real scrappy with it. And then I thought, what if I wanted to bring in guests? What am I gonna do? And then I thought, okay, let's just patch them in through Discord. And then I was reading on Reddit that you should not be doing this, which I don't know why. It didn't mention anything about using Discord for guest podcasts, but it did mention Google Meet and Zoom because I guess like when two people talk over each other, it kind of like mutes or muffles the other person. Like so two people can't talk at the same time. And like with Discord, I don't know if that could happen. I'm not sure. But I was like, okay, maybe that is a little janky, if I had the video and then we had the Discord overlay. Like I was just gonna have it be a second scene on my OBS, but I decided against that. And so I like literally sat on what software I should use for the podcast for almost like 2 weeks. I was just going through like what can I use? I even asked on threads and everything. Your girl was desperate. I was thinking of using Restream, which probably would have worked out, and also StreamYard, but I didn't really like the UI of StreamYard when I was using it for work. Yeah, and then I came across Riverside, and I learned about Riverside through posting on threads. A lot of people were raving about Riverside, and I just looked into it and I was like, yes, this kind of has everything I need. I mean, this is not an ad for Riverside, but if you just wanted to know what I was using, this is it. Yeah, because I was just going through so many software options, which also is a very common thing for folks to get stuck on if they were to get started in content creation. A lot of people get hung up on what editor to use, what to use for graphic design, and all that stuff, like all the technical stuff, like the down to like what camera they should use, microphone, stuff like that. And I definitely got hung up for a second. I thought, ooh, maybe I can't do this. But then no, we pushed through, we were patient, we found what would work for our workflow. And now we're testing it. And I'll let you know in a couple episodes if my process completely changes. To be super honest with you all, I think I'm more scared to be starting this podcast. Don't get me wrong, I'm really excited and happy. I think this is like the creative shakeup that I need. Um, but part of me is really scared about not keeping up the project, but also like the logistics that go into it, and also kind of being boring. I'm definitely scared of not delivering on the content and being kind of boring. And also just, it not going the way I thought it would be. And all valid fears. I feel like this definitely is something that I think about every time I start a new project, not just podcasting, but like for me, I tend to think about the possibility of failure first, which is definitely not a great trait to have. But it's just the part of my brain that wants to keep me realistic, because as a kid I was always a dreamer. I always had these big projects and I always wanted to do it, and I would reach for the stars with everything I did, and then be very, very disappointed when I find out it's not possible. So now in my adult years, I start with the failure first and kind of get myself scared, and then see, I let the feeling kind of subside a bit, and then see if it's still something I want to pursue. Because there are a lot of projects I always want to start, but I don't think through the logistics at first. So it's a double edged sword, I would say. Honestly, I feel like thinking about the failure first has definitely done me a disservice when it comes to creating and starting a new project, because like I said earlier, like it puts me into like the sort of fight or flight kind of mode where I'm like, ooh, kind of scary, gotta dip, or or maybe it's something I do want to really take on. And there were actually a lot of moments where, when I was planning for this podcast, I would tell people and they'd be very, very excited. and said they would tune in. And that part would make me so, so, so happy. And then when I'm alone in my room, planning all the logistics, the shoots, and all that stuff, scripting the episodes, the trailer and stuff, that's when I start to like get a little scared and I subconsciously start like talking myself down. I think there was even a point in time where I canceled the whole project. Um, I think there was like a straight 2 weeks I just did not work on this podcast, and I'm like, "Ooh, thank God I did not announce a launch date. Good thing I didn't really tell anyone yet." So it's kind of like half in, half out of the project for quite a bit. And yeah. Oh, I also couldn't think of a name for the longest time. Ooh, let's talk about that. Why is naming things so difficult? I went through so many different iterations of this podcast. Like, let me read through some of the names that I thought of. Like it was ridiculous. I think I spent an entire month just coming up with the name. So, back when I wanted this podcast to be a creative podcast, here's what I thought. Creative-ish, just wing it. I don't know what I'm doing. Fitting. The art of making it up. Lessons they forgot to teach us. The creative detour. I really wanted that one to happen. Draft mode. Concept to chaos, almost genius. This might be something. Ooh, I really like that one too. Letter to my younger self. Figuring it out loud was going to be the name of the podcast for a very, 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 very long time. Like, I would tell people, I'm thinking of calling it Figuring It Out Loud. But like, there was just something about the name that was not rolling off the tongue, you know? Living Out Loud, or the LOL podcast, and How I Got Here. Now, How I Got Here was a very, very, very strong contender as well towards the end. Um, but there was just so many podcasts already called How I Got Here, which is dumb because I really wanted it to be called The High Podcast, like HIGH, How I Got Here. And I was so sad I could not make it work. And then I think, oh, and then where I got the name Pretty Poor Decisions, I know there's like a bar or something around here where I live, called Poor Decisions. So I didn't want to infringe on their stuff, you know? And then I was just like, okay, something has to come before Poor Decisions. And I just did not know what it was. And so, like, oh, and the reason why it's Poor Decisions, something Poor Decisions, is I was actually at a Bevmo, or Bevmo, Total Wine, one of the two. I was at one of those stores with a couple of friends, and I was just like, damn, what am I gonna name this podcast? I gotta start promoting it soon. And then I thought of Poor Decisions from that one place. And I was like, okay, but it has to be kind of different. And so me and three of my friends literally sat in our living room just auditioning words to go in front of Poor Decisions. And we're just like, over, like just spitballing words like before and after. I don't know how I ended up on Pretty Poor Decisions. I think I still wanted it to be kind of girly pop in a way. So I thought, like, oh, that's like a pretty poor decision, you know? And it's something I have said before. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of cute. So yeah, I thought of Pretty Poor Decisions, sitting on my living room. So thank you, Total Wine and Bevmo. So yeah, that's what came to the name. And then I also like I tend to I'm not a big drinker, right? But I did want to like add some sort of ode to my show and also my Twitch channel. So on Twitch, I'm the Cat Cafe. And so everything's like kind of cafe themed. And then also, I used to have a design show called Wine and Design, where I drink wine and design something. And then it gets, very interesting towards the end when I finish the glass. But yeah, so I thought I would be kind of on theme and call this Pretty Poor Decisions, like POUR, to reference like drinks and stuff, not only alcoholic drinks, but just like drinks in general, because the Cat Cafe is my Twitch channel. And also, oh, also another thing, this podcast was going to be live streamed on Twitch. And I thought it'd be so fun because I was just looking at the podcast tab on Twitch, and mm, it was looking male, pale, and very stale. Okay. And I just I was like, we need something to happen. We need like a girl talking about girly things, talking about life, talking about other things, that's not like esports or stocks or crypto, So that's kind of just what I was just seeing on the Twitch page when I was just scrolling, just podcasts that I wasn't really that into. And they all were kind of looking the same. But ultimately, I decided to not go with that idea because one, having guests kind of would be a nightmare if I did the whole Discord route because I would be streaming it using OBS, right? And so just like setting up a screen that's like through Discord with a person, and then I was going to do restream, and it was just like kind of complicated connecting stuff to my Twitch channel, but also like keeping the branding kind of the same and not too weird. Anyways, it was just like a whole other set of logistics I had to think about. And also, like, originally the appeal of Pretty Poor Decisions was people had to tune in into the show on Tuesday, the live stream, to get the unfiltered version, right? And then the VOD would be taken down and it would be edited for the other platforms. Um, which I still think is a cool idea. I think I'm going to incorporate some sort of live event, maybe like once a quarter, like a live Q&A or something like that. But I don't know. I just kind of got scared of people accidentally breaking NDAs on the show or like saying stuff that they can't take back. And so, I thought maybe we can incorporate that, but probably a little later when especially me, when I'm a bit more comfortable speaking in podcast format. So that idea is on the back burner. So now we're here. Oh, and also I got Riverside, but I found out I can stream on Riverside to my Twitch channel. So that might actually be a possibility where we do live events like live Q&As, AMAs, whatever. Oh, what a great idea. As you can see, there were a bunch of different ideas and iterations for this podcast, and it took the entire time from March up until September that you're listening to this to make those decisions. So I still feel like I don't know too much about podcasting. Oh, and also, by the way, by the time I'm filming this, I don't even have an opening song yet. I haven't decided on the podcast jingle. I have a playlist going on Epidemic Sound right now, and I need to choose one. I just don't, I just need to put it on this episode and just see what fits the vibe. But yeah, as I'm recording this, I don't even have a jingle set. I don't have a solid intro quite yet. And that's okay. We don't have to have all the pieces together. I'm kind of just taking my own advice for once and just hitting record, just doing the dang thing, scared, unprepared, messy, and we'll just refine it along the way. And I feel like this is such an iconic way to kick off this podcast, just reminding you and showing y'all that I am not perfect whatsoever. I still have details to work out, but I hit record today and I'm starting the podcast. I'm starting this first episode, messy, unprepared, scared. And even though I'm feeling all these things, my passion and desire to get this podcast out to you just weighs so much more than the fear of starting this, and also my debilitating habit of being a perfectionist. Yeah, I just believe in the mission of this podcast so much, and especially during this tumultuous time in the world right now, I just feel like we need more hope and humanity in this world right now. So I really want this podcast to tell those stories, to remind folks that they're not alone and we're all just trying to figure it out together. No one actually knows what they're doing. And if they do know what they were doing, here's how they did it. And also just spread more good vibes and positivity and just, you know, show that even in the darkest of times, at everyone's lowest points, they were still able to find the light, stay motivated, stay inspired, and eventually get themselves out of a shitty situation. So, if you were to take anything away from this episode, it's that if you're starting a new project, it's gonna be messy in the beginning. and you can't expect perfection. You can prepare everything to a T. You're still going to start messy. And even if you don't have everything figured out, just start. Just fucking start it. And you honestly will figure things out along the way. You will learn things. Google is your best friend. Reddit is sometimes your best friend. And once you start learning more, improving your skills, creating new habits, eventually you will create the workflow that works for you. And I feel like once you find the answers to things you don't know, you start working on your craft, developing new techniques, learning new habits, and creating new workflows, that's when things will start to polish and refine, and they'll be less messy. Because you will be working on a system that works for you. If you wanted to start that new project or hobby or whatever new thing you want to start, you gotta do it scared. You're never gonna feel ready to start that new thing. And if you are waiting for that feeling of being ready, it's never gonna come. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you right now, you gotta start that project scared, and then it'll eventually clean up the longer you do it, the longer you stick with it. Take my journey with this podcast for an example. I don't have everything figured out. I still don't know what I'm doing, but we got the courage to hit record anyways. I will also tell you right now, chat, it is sorry. Oh my gosh, this is not Twitch. If y'all ever hear me call you guys chat, it's just a streamer term that means like everyone, friends, you know, group. So the word chat might just slip occasionally. But yeah, it is currently 1:30 in the morning as I'm recording this. And yeah, honestly, I had a burst of creativity at 11:30 at night. I really, really wanted to record this episode at night, in kind of like a little cozy setting with my little sweater, maybe a blanket with some mood lights. Because that's just kind of like the vibe that I was going for this podcast. And I had the extra energy to do it at 11:30 at night. And here we are still recording at 1:30 because I honestly messed up a lot. I had to fix the lighting, choose the colors and stuff, put on my makeup. I'm still not even satisfied with what my hair is doing. I was kind of sweaty today, so it's not looking the best. But you know what? We showed up. We are here. We hit record. We're doing this dang podcast, and we're not perfect, and that's okay. Boom. That is a mic drop. I honestly impressed myself with that line. I honestly was struggling recording this episode. I think this is probably like my second and a half take. I accidentally deleted the first half. So here we are again re-recording, and I keep stumbling on my words, and hopefully this episode isn't too painful to listen to. But yeah, chat. I mean, oh, there it is again with the chat. So yeah, friends, just to reiterate, if you are starting something new, whether it be a creative project, a new hobby, or even if you're moving to a new city, you're launching a business or going into a different career and doing anything for the first time, um, just know that your first steps will always be messy. No matter how much you plan, no matter how much you try to feel ready, you won't feel ready. It's going to be messy, and it's okay. You are doing it right. You are in the right direction. I always like to say self awareness is always the first step. So if you know you want to do something, or you know you're looking for a change or a new direction, being aware that you want this change is an amazing first step to actually taking action. And you're going to run into a lot of detours, mistakes, things not going according to plan, but honestly, that is just all part of the journey. And that's okay. A step forward is a step forward. So start that new thing scared as hell, start clueless, start messy, because the sooner that you begin, then the sooner you can get better. So that is a wrap on the first episode of Pretty Poor Decisions. I hope you all enjoyed, and hopefully it wasn't too messy or chaotic to follow. I promise I will get better in time. If you have any suggestions or ways to improve, or if there's any topics you want covered, feel free to message message me over at Pretty Poor Pod on Instagram. I'll be taking suggestions and engaging with folks on there. So don't forget to give that Instagram a follow, and don't forget to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you are listening or watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!